I don't feel alone. You just settled in and it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
Welcome back. Another week of the greatest podcast on 4th Street.
That's right. Yeah, we're the only one on 4th Street, but it's okay.
See, you're not supposed to say that part. Yeah, remember we talked about inside thoughts?
That's right, inside.
Well, we are back with another episode this week. We're going to talk to Isaac Steele today. Isaac is a MMA fighter that lives here locally, grew up here locally. He's also got a great self-defense training organization that he's trying to build. And so we had him on. Always liked Isaac. He's been a great kid and a great representative of Chillicothe. And
sure.
So excited about that. I did want to touch on a couple other things. I went to the fundraiser last week for Ride the Wave for Addison Edgerton. They did make their goal.
Did they? That's fantastic.
So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that job, for Clay. Them. Great job by Clay. He had a whole group, cadre of folks that were out there. Lori Graves, friend of the podcast, was out there. She did a great job. I stayed for a couple, 3 hours or so, but I was happy to hear that they were able to make their goal and help that family out, the Edgerton family. So wanted to make sure we talked about that. And then our favorite podcast is now done.
Oh, man.
I listened to the episode yesterday of 60 Songs That Explain the 90s. And it's now 120 episodes. So
Rob Harvella, it was interesting listening to the last episode because I could hear it in his voice. He didn't want to finish off that episode.
Yeah.
They didn't even really talk about the song.
Yeah, I know.
At the end part,
the guest kept saying over and over, should we bring this back to Garth Brooks or trying to bring it back to Garth Brooks? Friends in Low Places was the last one that they did. Or no?
Well, no, they did closing time.
Closing time on Semisonic.
But I think that it was just, it was like the token finish episode. They didn't really talk much about, so the way that podcast works is he tells the story first and then the last 15 or 20 minutes, he brings in a guest and they discuss the song. Usually. But the last one, it did not happen. He didn't really want to close it out.
And we've had debate. We have a small circle of friends that listen to the podcast, and then usually we trade text messages with them. Some liked, I think we all recognize that it was a little cliche to end with closing time, but it was also perfect at the same time. So,
yeah, I mean, I think Rob probably had that planned out.
Yeah.
So,
Marty, why have we never thought about the most glaring thing that's right in front of us? Rob also did a book called 60 Songs That Explain the 90s, and we have never reached out through our intermediaries at Wheatberry Books to get a book signing for 60 Songs That Explain the 90s in Chillicothe.
I think
I literally just thought of this yesterday, and I was so mad at myself. Why have we not?
Is it too late?
I don't think it is.
And then we could take advantage of him coming to Chillicothe
and do the podcast.
Bring him on the podcast. Rob Harvella, if you're out there and you listen to our podcast, we would love to talk to you. You're not that far. You're in Columbus.
Somebody
it's an easy drive.
Email this to the Ringer so they can get it to Rob. Literally, it takes 40 minutes to come down from Columbus.
Yeah. It's easy for him to do that.
Probably shorter if you don't hit the lights in Circleville.
And I think we've talked enough about his podcast. There's probably a decent following here in Chillicothe that would probably go to a book signing at Wheatberry.
And if not, we'll create one. We'll pay people to. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. But we'll at least give you a pat on the back and buy you coffee.
The book, right?
I did.
Have you read it yet?
I have not.
No.
I have not. I meant to start reading it while I was home for the Christmas holiday. And then I didn't.
Because it came out in November, and I'm the same way. I've leafed through it, but I haven't.
Yeah, there were parts of it that I looked at, and I was like, oh, man, I really like this. And so I read that part, and then I kind of just skipped around.
Yeah.
But
it does follow the the podcast a little bit. So
yeah. Well, and a shout out to David Berman, who is the guy that really brought this to us.
Yeah.
David is a former reporter that worked with me at the Gazette, lives in Washington Courthouse. And, I mean, I owe him a debt of gratitude for sure. Yeah. I mean,
I'm
literally,
so thankful because if I'd
would have never known.
Yeah. Fantastic.
We probably need to do that again. Cause we did that as like, what are the podcasts that you like and enjoy?
Yeah.
And we probably have new ones now that we
probably
like and enjoy.
Go through another set of,
but, yeah, I am somewhat maudlin about the fact that the show is now done.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones that he did right at the end was the one where everybody yells at Rob for the songs that he didn't do.
Yeah.
And that was,
but Eric, not to call Eric Alsop out, he did not like that episode.
Yeah.
He thought that episode was bad.
But see, you said that also about the Garth Brooks episode. And then in the text thread, he was like, wait a minute, I said it grew on me or something like that. And I was like, really? Because it was sold to me that you did not appreciate that episode. So
I thought the episode was really good. And that was a song. I was surprised that we got to 120 songs and he had almost 120 songs and he hadn't done it.
Right.
So the fact that it was the next to last episode, it made sense to me because there, when you talk about the 90s, there's a lot of big things that happened in the 90s, but I don't know that there's anything bigger than Garth Brooks in the 90s.
And they even talk about it in the episode where they say, like if you're talking about the 90s, Garth Brooks had the top albums in like 5 or 6 of those years.
He has 9 albums that are all diamond.
Yeah. I mean, that's insanity.
Like even the Chris Gaines album sold more than most artists have ever sold in their lives.
Yeah.
And that was an alter ego album that he did.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's not good.
And I'm glad he addressed it though in the episode. So.
Yeah, I am too. When I found out it was Friends in Low Places, and like knowing how Rob tells a story, I thought he's got to mention Chris Gaines. Like it's got to come up.
Well, and
it's the awkward elephant in the room. But
one of the things that, exactly. One of the things I didn't realize is that the year that Friends in Low Places came out, 3 different country artists actually did that song, including Mark Chestnut, which you said I think was the first time that you'd ever heard the song was when he did it.
Yeah,
right?
I heard Mark Chestnut's song. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty cool song. And then you hear Garth's version, and you're like, oh my, he changed that song completely.
Well, and to bring it into a current conversation, I think Garth Brooks and Taylor Swift each have the same quality, which is not only the talent and the ability, but the showmanship. Like, I think the thing that was great about Garth and set him apart from a lot of country artists of his time was he could pull off a stadium tour because of himself, the magnitude of himself, and the ability to think of things that would make a great show. Right?
Yeah, he has a big personality, and then you see him in an interview, and he seems like, I could hang out with that guy.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't be uncomfortable sitting around a table playing cards with him or playing crokinole, you could just see it. Like he seems very personable, but he's just a big personality, but he's so dramatic.
Yeah,
and there's a point where you're like, okay, this is to the point where it's a little cheesy, but and then he still sells it. It's oh yeah, boy, that guy.
Yeah, he's the only one that I can think that can be boastful and humble in the same sentence. I mean, I know a few people like that personally, but
no one pulls it off like Garth Brooks.
Nobody pulls it off at that level, right?
Oh man, did you have a favorite episode going back? I mean, 120 episodes is a lot of episodes, and I think
so. I'm going to cheat and pull it up because
I think to this point I've listened to all of them.
Right.
Even I've gone back and listened to the ones that even first run I was like, yeah, I'm not interested in that song, but I appreciate Rob's storytelling so much that I end up going back and catching.
In this last season, I think my favorite episode was the George Michael episode, just because the story of George Michael is so interesting to me. It was a good episode. I just think for whatever reason, that one was to me one that really stands out to me in this last set. And then the one that always will stick out for me, I think, is the oh boy, now I'm losing. I literally just lost it, but it was a very sad episode. Gin Blossoms.
Yeah, I will agree that one was.
I remember listening to that and just feeling like I had lost a friend. You know, like it was just really
well. And the other piece to that is you realize how much probably really good music we lost.
Yeah,
early on.
Yep.
Because we only got a little taste of the Gin Blossoms, and what we did get was really good.
Yeah.
And so if you think, somebody having a 20, 25-year career after that, all the great stuff that they probably would have put out, that just got lost. And people can say that about Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, what we missed out on that. But for me, I was not a big Nirvana fan, but it gave me the Foo Fighters, which I like 100 times more than I like Nirvana.
Yep.
I love Dave Grohl and his biography. If you ever get a chance to read it, I would recommend listening to the audiobook because it's him telling you, reading it, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I remember, the Alanis Morissette, which is the first episode, is the one that really hooked me, and to the fact where I was listening to it in the car with my now 22-year-old daughter, and she was, "Dad, what is this?" And I was like, "It's a podcast called 60 Songs That Explains the 90s, and this is the first episode." And she's like, "I could never get into that." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I know, but." And that's back when they used to play the song after. And they never addressed why they stopped doing that. I assume it was some sort of Spotify thing, but
yeah, well, so originally started on Spotify.
Yeah.
And when I listened to it on Spotify, it would only give me like the first 10 seconds of the song.
Oh, okay.
It would never let me play the whole song afterwards.
Okay.
And so I figured that was like just a licensing thing.
Probably.
Which is why you only get snippets in the.
Yeah.
But
I love the fact that they renewed my interest in Tribe Called Quest.
The Tribe Called Quest, that was a great episode.
They're great episodes. They also renewed my interest in a lot of things, that I had kind of forgotten about. He's a great, curator of all those 90s moments as well. I love the fact that he talked about songs without having to talk about songs. So he would talk about a song to get to, let's say, Goo Goo Dolls.
It's the brilliance of his storytelling.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, he has this wonderful knack. And of course, people on Twitter have just given him a hard time about that.
Yeah.
Oh, it took you 38 minutes to get to the name of the song that you're actually covering. One of my favorites, and it goes way back to the beginning, and it was one of the first ones I listened to that hooked me, was the Mariah Carey All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah.
I didn't want to like that episode, but I don't think people understand how big that song really is.
Yeah, I think the thing that made people upset about that was there were a lot of other choices for Mariah Carey songs but I think it's just,
it makes her $6 million every Christmas. So
exactly.
like, come on, like he picked it because of in the title of the podcast is explains.
Yep.
That it explains the 90s. I thought that was key to that.
One of my favorite episodes as well was when he did "It's Good to Be King" with Tom Petty. Of course, Tom Petty, again, getting back to that music that we've now lost. That one really affected me. I've always been a pretty big Tom Petty fan, and one of the great, not regrets, but regrets is I had the opportunity to see Tom Petty in Columbus right before he passed away, but we went to see U2 in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And it was on the same night, so you couldn't see them both. Yeah. So, but of course I thought, well, I'll catch Petty the next time he's around. And then a month later he was gone. So.
Yeah. That was sad, really, especially when it was a show that we wanted to see both of those shows.
Yeah.
Because I had not seen Tom Petty live. But my buddy Luke, Francis is a big Tom Petty fan. The wonderful thing about Tom Petty is we have just this gigantic catalog.
Yeah.
And so when you compare that to like like Gin Blossoms and some of the people that we lost earlier in their life. We just don't have a big catalog for them. So thank goodness we have that from Tom.
Yeah. I think the thing that I would say about the podcast for those of you that are 90s kids is you will be renewed in your interest of a lot of these bands, or you'll remember that you hated them, but you really didn't hate them. Like you just hated them in the moment, you know? And there's something to say. Walker asked me, Dad, what is your favorite era of music? Which is that's a tough question.
It is a tough question.
And I came down to the 70s because it's a little before my time. You know, like I was born in 68. I graduated in 86. And so like I'm in the middle of a lot of eras, but the most music that I probably could say that I've listened to and had the most impact on me was probably in the 70s.
Yeah,
I'm a big classic rock kid when I was a kid, person when I was a kid. So
yeah, I mean, I look back and kind of do the same thing. I was born in 70, graduated in 89, and I just the influence that my parents listened to. They were young parents when they had me, and they were still like music was still such an important piece to their daily lives. And so my dad was the classic rock guy. And so I learned, Leonard Skinner and Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and all of that from him, Stevie Ray Vaughan. So like those kind of things all came from my dad. And from my mom, she was a throwback. So I like my love for classical music, my enjoyment of big band music, big band orchestra stuff, because she liked to listen to stuff like that.
Right.
And then she was in R&B. She so Michael Jackson, Jackson 5, Otis Redding, Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke is still one of my favorites of all time.
Yep.
And it's because my mom loved Sam Cooke.
Yep.
So so I would. It's hard to pick a genre, but then what influenced me? That's early, but I spent a lot of time listening to music. I was through the 90s. I was in my 20s, and that's just good music in the 90s.
Yeah.
That's why I think the podcast resonated so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, if you're somebody that likes to binge podcasts, it's done. So now you can just buzz through 124 episodes because there's a couple episodes in there that he did a collaboration with Bandsplain, which is another great podcast out there. Yep. He's done a couple other live episodes, things like that they posted. So 60 songs that explain the 90s. It's available on both Apple and Spotify now.
Yeah.
So we give it our highest recommendation. We may, in retrospect, first of all, if Rob comes to town, we will make it Rob Harvilla Day.
That's right.
In Chillicothe. So there you go.
So that's our pitch. Rob, make sure he listens to this.
We have just waxed eloquently about the need for Rob Harvilla to come to Chillicothe and do a book signing. So there you go.
I'll call Chelsea today.
There you go. Now for something completely different, we're going to get back to our episode with Isaac Steele. He's a Chillicothe guy, wrestler, football player, baseball player when he was in high school, and then embarked on a MMA career that had some stops and starts, and is currently sideburnered for right now. But Isaac Real Steele, he's also doing a great self-defense and tactical approach to self-defense training program that we're going to get into a lot in today's podcast. So
great conversation.
Without further ado, Isaac Real Steele. Well, we are really excited this week to have Isaac Steele. Do you still go by Real Steele? Should I call you Real Steele?
You can still call me Real Steele. That's fine.
I love Real Steele. I always thought it was great.
Yeah.
Isaac is a CHS grad, grew up here, lives here, and he has been an MMA fighter, owns a 7-2 record in MMA. Hasn't fought for a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about that. But he's also got some other things that he's doing as well. And so we're excited to have you on, Isaac. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah. So right now you're doing Frontline Tactical.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that and exactly. I saw a great video and some other things that you're posting on the Facebook page. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I established the company earlier this year, and just in brief, Frontline is we're here to provide the general public, law enforcement, businesses, churches, and the school systems. Ultimately, is what we like to do, but providing them with the skills and knowledge and the equipment to provide to them basically. A source for active threats or active aggressors, right?
Yep.
So, I wanted to do this because I'm a law enforcement officer now, and then applying what I did for, 15 years with the professional MMA stuff, and just providing that to our local communities,
Yeah.
So that's in brief.
Yeah. And just like starting a business, the biggest thing that you have to do is kind of get things rolling. You have to get the marketing side of it going, right?
Right. And that's, I'm not a businessman necessarily. So I'm learning, and we talked earlier about that off record, of course, but I'm just trying to surround myself with like-minded people and filling in those gaps. There's a lot of things I don't know, and you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the pieces of advice that I give to business owners on a regular basis is, number one, don't be afraid to recognize that you don't know something and ask a lot of questions about it. Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't do that. They want to act like they got it all together. And
well, my MMA career had humbled me a lot. Not that I was ever, egotistical necessarily, but I'm definitely not a naive person, and even some of the courses that we're going to provide, we have like a critical incident trauma course, and we'll get into that maybe, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, I'm bringing people that are that are better than I am or more knowledgeable than I am, in those respective fields, because I want the general public, I want the law enforcement officers or agencies, I want the churches, I want the businesses, I want the school systems to understand that there's a necessity for this. There's people out there that understand the concepts behind it. And, from my standpoint, I have that network already. So I can provide that, and it may just be somebody different that's better than I am, more equipped than I am. But we need that now.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that the world is going, and I understand the media catches a lot of it, but that's the reality of it. I mean, I live that every single day. I get to see a lot of it firsthand. And for me, man, it's like, I think it just brings in a different perspective because, 5, 6, 7 years ago, before I started my law enforcement career, I wanted to open my own gym. And I wanted it to be more targeted towards fighters. And I kind of went down that avenue at that time when I was training some people, and, not to get too much into weeds with that, but like, it wasn't what I wanted it to be.
Yeah. It wasn't your passion, right?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed teaching them, but whenever some of them were coming back to me, the next session we had, he'd be like, "Hey man, I was watching the UFC fights this past Saturday, and I was talking to this guy at the bar, and you know where I'm going with that, right?"
Yep.
And then they get in an altercation, and it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I showing these people these techniques and these skill sets if they're going to go out there and use it for something like that? I mean, and
a brawl.
Yeah. I mean, and at that time, you know what I mean? Like I was wanting to get into law enforcement, and I'm like, this is not for me, man. Like I can't, it's really hard to trust people like that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying everybody that I trained was that way, but there's a lot of them. And then, you go in there, and then, and you train these people. It's kind of like a legal, it's a liability on you,
right?
At the end of the day, too, because if they get put on the stand, they're like, "Well, where'd you learn this from?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My name gets brought in the picture, and I'm like, "Oh no," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, obviously you're going to get that here, but now being able to structure that with like the use of force continuum. And maybe I'm getting too off topic here, but like with Frontline too, you have to think like who's more trusted than someone who has a law enforcement or military operated and owned business.
Right.
Because we understand the legal ramifications. And I'm not sitting here telling you that like, I can offer you consultation from a legal standpoint. I'm not an attorney, you know what I mean? But I understand the use of force continuum. I've been in, resistings, and I've had to testify and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I understand the case laws behind that. And what people may not understand is even the general public has those same rules and regulations and laws in place, right, that we have to abide by.
Yep.
So
yeah. Well, and I think it's important for folks to understand that because those certain tactics and the continuum,
right.
You can educate people on that and drill that down into them. So it's not just this guy took a swing at me, so now I can just beat him until he's unconscious.
Right.
Like, I mean, in some regards, you may have to do that if it's a life and death situation.
Sure.
But you can teach how to understand a lot of that, right? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a practical side, and then there's just is a dialogue you have to have with somebody, just like you and I are having right now. You know what I mean? Like, just talking to somebody and opening their perspective, right? And then applying that perspective practically,
right?
You know what I mean? And we all have to start small, and that was kind of the other thing too, right? It's like there's a bunch of jiu-jitsu schools and boxing schools. And those are all great. And I think training in those elements are a necessity as well. The unfortunate thing is we're all busy, right? So Frontline, like I wanted to apply the practical side of it, for what we deal on a daily basis, or what we could be dealing with on a daily basis. Like, we talk about jiu-jitsu. It's probably the best self-defense martial arts out there. The unfortunate side of that is if we're only training in jiu-jitsu, gi or no gi, like we get accustomed to some of the techniques that are being taught, and which is fine, right? But you add in different elements, different variables in life, or in a real life scenario. Like, I don't know if anybody really follows jiu-jitsu, but I'll use a term like, a technique. Like a berimbolo, like we're not rolling on the ground looking for knee bars and ankle locks and heel hooks and stuff like that. And out here, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Are you going to be doing that on the gravel or in a ditch or, in a parking lot?
Yeah.
Wherever. Right. So there's different like applications that just don't apply. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. I mean, I think it's great that early on you recognized the liability in what you were doing. And understanding that piece, I think it was probably key to like where you find yourself now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Do you also do like firearm training through this as well?
So we're getting to that
Okay.
point.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine there's certifications and
it's not even really much of a certification.
Okay.
I mean, I think like when we what we want to do is provide the CCW aspect too.
right.
We want to be able to have those courses, and that's kind of where the certifications and stuff come in.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where I told you earlier, like where I want to bring people in who are better than I.
Right.
And I'm working on that.
Yeah.
Like there's a guy, I won't mention his name right now, but I believe he's actually getting ready to turn professional as a professional shooter, competitive shooter. But he is prior SOF. He spent 15, 20 some years in our SRT.
Wow.
And I won't mention my agency name, but
That's fine.
But he is very, very highly decorated. If you correlate that to someone like in my network of fighting, he would be someone who, like the Rich Franklin.
There you go.
What I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
He's been there, done that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and he's very equipped. And that's somebody that was looking to bring in. So
if somebody comes to you, I just saw that you did a special training for women.
Correct.
So somebody comes into you pretty green, really doesn't know much about how to defend themselves other than just fight or flight, I guess. Yeah. But how do you start out? What's the base?
The dogs have entered the chat again.
We do get this on a pretty regular basis. Yeah. But how do you start with them and in instruction?
Yeah. I'll make this kind of known too. Like, because I was on the same topic with jiu-jitsu and boxing schools and stuff like that. Obviously I've been doing this my whole life, and I think this is kind of where it's a little different from my perspective as the frontline tactical curriculums.
Sure.
When you go into jiu-jitsu school, you might have a white belt also training with a brown belt or black belt, and which is good to an extent, right? Because that brown belt or that black belt can help the white belt, right? Help the beginner.
Yeah.
But that brown belt or that black belt is probably also paying some sort of membership fee, right? And they want to get the most out of their training as well. So with Frontline, it's hard to regulate people coming from the outside in who may or may not have prior experience. But the curriculums that are in play for the women's class is we have 4 tiers or 4 levels. So we start with level 1, go to level 2, 3, and 4, and there's different implementation in each level. So for the level 1 course, there's a lot of situational awareness, and we apply that practically in multiple scenarios. And as we move on, there's more scenario based. There's weapons fighting. There's more ground implementation too.
Right.
But everyone starts at level 1. And I think that's important because now you're getting the techniques, like it's a specific curriculum that's geared towards the level 1.
Yeah.
Right. And you kind of move up from that, I should say.
Yeah. So you're looking at basic self-defense now, but you would like to do training. You mentioned law enforcement. You also mentioned churches in there. Obviously, like Marty and I's church, we have a security team. They go around, kind of patrol things like that, just to make sure that, we're right downtown. So I think in some regards, just making sure that everything is fine. But you never know. We hear about churches, schools, other places where people gather all over the country that get attacked. And so teaching what to look for and how to look for is probably a big part of what you want to do, right?
Right. The situation awareness is key, right? I mean, because we can de-escalate a lot of things from occurring just by knowing our surroundings and just scanning our environment that we're in. And it's not like a paranoia thing. And some people that's kind of the perception they get when you bring that up and you start talking about situational awareness. Yeah. But like after so long, you train your mind and your body to do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit. You know what I mean? I've always kind of believed that. But like what you said, there's such a demand for companies like this. And, I'm an advocate for believing that there's enough cake to go around. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to be the end all be all of anything in life, let alone a company like this. Right. Yeah. Because there's other companies that are doing essentially this kind of similar stuff. Right. But from the perspective of the training within the schools and the businesses and the churches, like what's the criminal element? What are they looking at? Like they're looking at the weak, you know what I mean? They want to prey on the weak, right? These predators, they want to prey on the weak and the vulnerable. So are you vulnerable when you're at church? Probably. Yeah. Are you vulnerable when you're at school? If you're in the 3rd grade, you're pretty vulnerable. Yeah, right? Exactly. So I think it's just getting that message and that perception across to people and getting them to see like the reality. We put off our investing in ourselves, you know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the important thing too, is understand that, we all need this type of training because it could happen at any point, anytime, and it could be anybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it could come from anybody. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like if you go to the gym and then you start going to the gym and a year later you go back and you go, man,
I feel great. I'm stronger. Like, you don't realize it until you get down the road from it.
Yeah.
You thought you were fine, or maybe you realized that you weren't fine, and that's why you went to the gym. But a year later, you feel like a door has been opened for you, right? I think the same thing, probably. You don't know what you don't know, as you already mentioned. So being able to get trained on something on what to look for. I was lucky that when I was a journalist, I'd done a lot of stories about the police and fire and things like that. And so a lot of those guys, I'd ask them a question like, hey, what do you look for when you enter a room? What do you do? And they would share that information with me. And it was really helpful to me, and it's super helpful to me as a father now. So, I think that's the best part for me, I think, is to have that knowledge now.
Right. And you think about, a lot of women want to learn this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I bring my expertise in as far as the curriculums go, because I understand how people learn. I've been coaching since I was 13 years old. I started combat sports when I was 10. So, I understand how people learn. I coach within my agency. Like, I'm training these new people. I'm up at, my respective academy teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you understand how people, they take this information in and dissect it, right?
Yeah.
And you said it earlier. It's like they want to see results.
Yeah.
And so having the level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 for just the women, we color coordinate too for each level. So it's kind of like the white belt, all the way to black belt, right? So having that gets to, kind of seizes in their mind, like, oh, I'm advancing, I'm doing something productive, and I'm learning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So Mike and I are both girl dads.
Yeah.
And he sent me the link to your Facebook page, and the very first post I get to is the stat you throw out about 1 in 4 women get attacked. And that my kids chose to go off a long way from home to college, and as a dad, that's my fear, is them being out there and being vulnerable, and like a program like what you're offering for women, just to protect themselves. Right. What are some of the things, like the practical things you're teaching them in those classes? Because that stat is 1 out of 4 women are in the post was sexually assaulted, but I mean, it usually starts with the assault first and moves into something more drastic. But that stat is just
it's mind blowing when you think about it.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to, like, it can be anybody at any point at any time.
Yeah.
Whether you're the predator or the prey, right? I mean, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
And we're probably seeing a lot of that, brought to light through the media too. I mean, you're seeing how many people who have been involved in these incidents, right? But I think from the practical side is basing everything off of the situation awareness, because there's a lot of times that we can prevent these things from occurring by just simply setting boundaries.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I talk about, I like to talk, and I know I'm like tired and probably all over the place, but one of the things that I like to talk about is, we don't want to come across as aggressive or paranoid or just over the top, right? Because some of these instances may occur in like a work environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You talk about, a female with a male and how certain things can escalate just by simply like verbal, right? And maybe he's making a remark to her and she doesn't take to it. How does she react off of that, right? And if you're in a work environment, you're not going to want to like put somebody in this like Kimura arm lock, like just based off of a verbal,
slam them down on the desk.
Yeah. So, being able to kind of shine a light on that and give them options in that aspect. And then, we talk about like if you're out and about, maybe someone is being a little bit aggressive with like their, whether it's verbal or maybe even just kind of presence alone. You know what I mean? how can you de-escalate stuff like that from happening? I mean, how many of us are out in a public setting every single day? You know, we talk about if you go to a bar, because that alters your state of mind too, if you're consuming alcohol or anything like that. And sometimes you may not understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Right.
Yep.
So being able to have those options as well, you know, and it's a lot of that, it's just kind of shining light on that. But then you talk about like the practical hands-on part of it. I'm not big on teaching striking necessarily for self-defense, just because there's a lot of liability there.
Sure.
But I think it's necessary. And, you know, some of the curriculums that I'm actually certified in for the defensive tactics, they don't do much of that at all. And taking those courses and teaching those courses too to other people, like I've seen the discrepancies in that, because I think striking is necessary to teach. Right. Like, I probably just contradicted myself in saying that.
No, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, because like there's so many times that's applicable in a scenario. Like, you know, I don't know if you guys follow like the sheepdog response with Tim Kennedy. You know, he talks about how like his curriculums are like, you know, fangs out, like, you know, we're kind of going for the throat here. Right. This is the type of stuff that we're teaching. Unfortunately, though, we don't think about the repercussions of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So a lot of the striking techniques are, you know, I don't want to say basic, right? And I'm not saying that, you know, something can't transpire from that. That's, you know, whether you want to talk about deadly force or not, but, you know, it's injury reduction is our big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's for both parties.
Yeah.
You're not out here, unless there's lethal force that is applied to you or about to be applied to you.
Right.
We're not going to match that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're going to take it above the level of which it's at currently. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with, you know, just the de-escalation. Like, how can you set those boundaries, and what are some ways you can do that? And then if it does become like a hands-on situation or an incident, we can take care of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's justifiable.
Yeah. But that's your last resort, though.
Yeah, I was going to say,
absolutely.
You hope that no one ever has to use the techniques that you show.
Yeah.
But in case they have to, you want them to make sure that they can get rid of whatever threat is, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I love the piece about, like, your curriculum starts with, let's help you understand your situation in your environment,
and then de-escalation. I think is also
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't bring it with me.
Knowledge is power.
But I have the whole curriculum for the level 1, 2, 3. And
right.
I'm finishing level 4 for the women.
Fantastic.
And we actually are getting ready to roll out a youth program as well. And it'll kind of have the same tiers essentially.
Yeah.
But it'll be like more like fundamental like aspects of just activity oriented, right?
Yeah.
And then I think I mentioned the critical incident trauma course. I think that's a necessity for everybody, because, you know, you may be faced with an incident yourself. Did you guys hear about the Mark Coleman incident?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, had he, and I'm definitely not faulting anybody here. I mean, that's very heroic and so commendable on his part. I was recently involved in a structure fire within my job, and, you know, I didn't feel like I was equipped to be able to take that on. And you know what I mean? And that kind of just puts into perspective for me, even someone who's professionally involved in this. Not that I'm a firefighter, but you know what I mean? We're a first responder. And if you don't have that equipment with you, you know, even if it's given to you, right? Even if your agency or you supply that for yourself, if it's not with you at that time, it might as well be on the moon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
So he was involved in that, and not to cut you off, he was involved in that, and he didn't have any resources.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if like you're looking at this business model, and you kind of go down like the practical side, well, you're starting to get in the equipment, right? And the tactical supply demand. And, you know, there's a company that I've been talking to. It's called Trauma Pack. I don't know if anybody, North American Rescue, anybody know? Okay. Yeah. Look those companies up and just look at and see what they're involved in, and some of the products that they supply to the general public and law enforcement and fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's innovative equipment, and it's extremely necessary, I think, for even if you just have it like in your house, just for something happens, you know.
Sure. Yeah. Well, for people that don't know, Mark Holman is a UFC veteran, right?
Yep.
And had a house fire and had to go back into the house to save his family.
Yeah.
And he literally almost lost his life trying to do that. Yep. But yeah, amazing story.
Yeah, it's a heroic story, but it also could have been incredibly tragic, right? Like
exactly.
On many levels.
Well, and if you see the video online of in the hospital with his family, like kind of coming back together, oh my gosh, it's tears, man. It's just
my dad sent that to me, and I was like, man, I go way back with Mark, actually. And he trains with one of my good friends, Matt Brown, up at Memorial in Powell area.
Yeah.
So shout out to them.
Yeah,
man, I love Matt Brown.
Yeah,
that guy's a warrior, brother.
He's such a good dude.
Yeah, he really is.
I know. I see the Colorado State University hoodie over here to my left. So there's a awesome story behind that, man. He was getting ready to fight. I can't remember that guy's last name, but who's the guy that wrestled for Oklahoma? Johnny Hendricks.
Johnny Hendricks.
Yeah. So Matt was supposed to fight Johnny Hendricks, and he needed like a wrestler. Not that I'm Johnny Hendricks level by any means, but Matt took me out to Colorado for the whole training camp, man. I was out at the Muscle Farm facility. We were out there for like 6 weeks until they like canceled the fight last second or something like that, and we had to go back to Ohio. I was like, darn, man.
Yeah.
It was surreal to be out there. I got to train at the Olympic Training Center. I was on the mats with some of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
Jordan Burroughs was out there. I mean, like a surreal moment for someone like myself, grew up wrestling, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because you did grow up here. You're a wrestler at Chillicothe. I think you played baseball as well.
Yeah.
Did you play football as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I figured you did.
Yeah.
But it's I think, you mentioned starting at 10 in combat training and things like that. Talk a little bit about that. And I mean, I know your family is big into wrestling and everything like that. You probably started there and then kind of moved up, right?
I'm still the best wrestler.
I'm sure they will. There'll be Facebook comments now, right?
Yeah. No, man. I grew up in Chillicothe, Ohio. I've pretty much been here my whole entire life outside of like when I was actively competing. I think I moved to Cincinnati for a little over a year, and then moved to Columbus for a while. But, born and raised, and here I stand. So, Chillicothe is a great area, and I think that, we're definitely seeing an increase within the community, and I love it, and I want to be a part of that. So I started wrestling when I was 10, and a lot of it was because of my older brother. Some people know who that is. It's Adam Steele. So I don't really want to give him any shout out. No, but he was kind of the influence. He was kind of the influence behind why I started wrestling. He would go to wrestling practice and then come home and beat the crap out of me, and then I would go to the practices, and then I would start beating some of these kids that are older than I was. And then the coach, you guys know Timmy McMahon. At the time, Tim McMahon was the coach, and he was adamant on getting me into wrestling, and the rest was history after that. So I played baseball, played football, and I wrestled obviously for Chillicothe High School. But I have we can have actually another podcast based on that, because in my injuries that I sustained in wrestling just really deterred me in my future within like college sports. Some people don't know this, but I actually ended up wrestling at some collegiate tournaments after I graduated high school. But I was so back and forth between all three sports.
Yeah.
I was getting offers for football. I got offers for baseball. And then I started wrestling and started getting offers like a year after I graduated for wrestling.
Yeah.
But it was a crazy story, man.
Yeah.
And it really was. I had Tommy Johns on both elbows.
Yep.
The one I had it twice. So it's just crazy story and unfortunate circumstances, but it all led me here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, that's the key is everybody has different things that happen to them. It's just how you manage them and how you react to it. And so I think what you've been able to do is pretty great. We talked a little offline earlier about MMA. You feel like you ever go back to MMA? You don't have how far closed is the door? I guess is the best question.
I think the door is still open.
Okay.
You know, for me, it's like, it's always just since the last fight, you know,
yeah.
You're winning a fight at a high level, and, you know, because of, you know, whatever reasons, you know, you lose.
Mm-hmm.
I simply got caught, and that's kind of been engraved in my mind. But there's a lot of things behind the scenes that took part in my preparation that I wasn't happy with. And I fault myself. I mean, it was my own, it was on me at the end of the day.
Sure.
Right. And I think that there's some unfinished business there. But also I look at it from the realistic standpoint too. Like, I'm 34 years old, and the window of opportunity is closing in that aspect.
Yeah,
from a physical standpoint, right? It's not necessarily mental. You know, you correlate that to everybody else who thinks they can watch a UFC fight and go out there and beat some of those people. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not naive. I'm not watching these individuals coming up and saying, you know, I see holes in their game and I can go out there and beat them right now, right off the couch. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So you apply that mindset into the preparation, and then still the same, if not more, responsibilities now. I have a 1-year-old son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of different things now that are in my life that I prioritize over my own personal necessities, essentially, right? Like, or wants. But to answer your question, there's still a
little fire in the belly.
There's still an opportunity. As Rocky said, there's still something in the basement, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I wouldn't rule it out. Everybody always asks me, like, are you retired? And I will probably never say that word.
Right.
Sure.
But that's just me. I've always been go, go, go. And if the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to take a hold of it.
Yeah.
So.
And through the MMA, you've been able to, you mentioned Matt Brown earlier, you've been able to meet some great folks. I mean, Jonathan Webb was a guy that you fought, but he was a UFC vet. You know,
he's a nice guy, man.
Yeah, and I mean,
nice guy.
And I think what I liked about that fight was the mutual respect that I think they had. He had respect for you as a young guy coming up. You had respect for him for what he'd accomplished and done.
Oh, yeah.
And you're right. I go back and look at that fight and I say, boy, there was an opportunity there, but because he's a vet, he saw something and did it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Does anybody know that I tore my MCL that fight?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the unfortunate, like, kind of turn of events too. I had never had that happen in anything that I've done. I mean, even with my elbow, like, I still felt like it was still mobile.
Right.
But whenever that happened to my knee, man, it was like almost completely incapacitated me. Like, I couldn't do anything. I remember he took my back, he pulled me down, my knee popped, and it was like, I don't know, it just didn't register with me. I didn't feel like I could continue on.
Yeah.
And, you know, he capitalized on that.
Yep.
Sunk in a choke, and it was over. But he was very, very respectful. He comes from a great lineage.
Yeah.
I'm sure a great family too.
Yep.
And he's got great people behind him that are teaching him right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even if you don't ever, get to that level again, you have those.
Don't say that.
Okay. Well, all right.
I'm just kidding.
No, you're right. I think that makes sense. I guess from my perspective, looking at, I enjoy MMA because I have great respect for the people that can get into the ring and do all the training that it takes to get to the fight. Because a million different variables go into that. And, you mentioned one, like, you got to stay healthy during training, right?
Yeah.
And so I respect MMA fighters for all that. And then just the juice that it takes to get into that octagon and square up with.
Did you say juice?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Just what it takes.
Never touched that stuff.
But, just that energy and that level that it takes to get there is just unbelievable to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing too, we get older and, scientifically it's just some of it's not in our favor, right?
Yeah.
Biologically it's not in our favor. So
Yeah, I looked into it about a year ago, but at 55, it probably wasn't a good idea. So
I know some promoters if you're looking for a fight.
I want no part of that. I think I was in 2 fights in my entire life because I was maybe
if you had the frontline tactical training, you probably would never have been involved in the fight.
That's right. You would have had spatial awareness and be able to de-escalate.
Well, that was going to say it. Like the only reason I was ever in those 2, and I got my butt kicked. Like it didn't last very long because I was good at the de-escalation piece. Yeah. So I saved myself a bunch.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. You know, I've been in like 1, maybe 2. You want to call them resistings in my professional career now. And a lot of that, you know, is based off of my de-escalation skills.
Yeah.
It's effective communication. And that's one of the things that we teach because I think that's the key point, right?
Sure.
Outside of knowing your surrounding, you have to be able to talk to people
in
any environment. And so just having that practically applied, even in like, you know, just controlled training based environments.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a necessity, man. And I can't explain that and you know, just engrave that in people's minds, man.
Yeah.
Like it's because we don't know when it's going to happen. I mean,
right.
Look at these school shootings.
Yep.
You know, and
right.
There's a whole other path I want to go down, but what's your guys' perspective on this? Can I ask you guys?
Sure. Yeah.
This may sound crazy, right? So we talk about the school systems and we talk about all these school shootings, right? So what's some of the drills that we do in school?
Shut the door.
Fire drill, tornado drill. Why not have like an active shooter drill?
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that, you know, it sounds a little too much to some people, but like that's kind of where we wanted to come in too. And I think that's kind of my foot in the door is being able to establish that. Like I have people behind this company that I mentioned earlier that are glad to come in, and I'm sure, you know, there's others too, right? Like there's other people that, excuse me, that would be more than happy to show their techniques and look at the lockdown protocols and procedures between the schools, the churches, right, and even businesses for that matter. But being able to kind of dissect that, see any discrepancies that there may be. Why? This is where I was going to get down to. Like, this might sound crazy. What about having like ballistic armor for some of these kids?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and think about it, right? So the armor stays with the school, right? So the school purchases the actual armor itself, and then the student purchases the vest. And that way, you know, if they grow out of the vest, you know what I mean? It's fitted specifically for them.
Sure.
So now you have ballistic armor in case of an active shooter. I'm not saying it's going to deter every single thing from happening, but think about the ratio, right, of the casualties. I guarantee you that would disseminate.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, from that perspective of trying to minimize casualties in case something happens, it's an incredibly good idea because, you know, we don't want one loss of life.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. But disseminating those throughout the schools, I mean, I just think it would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal idea. And there's other options too. Like we have well, I shouldn't say we, but there's a company, they have it's like a tactical shield, and it's just straight steel. It's already been tested with like 5.56, 308. I mean, they've tested at different ranges, and it's upheld. And I think they're trying to patent it, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
It's a ballistic shield that, I mean, it fits like right inside the door of like each classroom.
Huh. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that could be more or less for like the teacher.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or if you were leading like a group of kids down a hallway, you know what I mean? And having some of those like formations and how, like, where are we going? Where do we want? I mean, you talk about, you know, the Colorado shootings, you know, what did they do? Like, you know, what about they pull the fire alarm? So what are we inclined to do or think at that point, right?
Just to go out. Yeah.
We have to go out. So thinking about those incidents, like I said, the variables and the elements change everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So what we're starting to see, I think you are going down the right path. Mm-hmm. My daughter is a second grade teacher in a Colorado school system, and they just had active shooter training. Mm-hmm. I work for Kingston National Bank, and we had an all employee meeting this past October on what's the holiday? Columbus Day.
Columbus Day, yeah.
And that's all right. I'm so discombobulated myself.
That's right. So on Columbus Day, we had an all employee meeting because the bank is closed, and the sheriff's department in Pickaway County came in and did training for all of our employees.
Shout out to Rob Morningstar.
Yeah. And so like it was really good. And from a standpoint, it opened our eyes to the things as just an employee of Kingston National Bank that we don't think about.
Yeah.
We are a bank. There is a reason for somebody to walk in the door, more so than just about any other business.
Yeah.
Right. Because of the amount of cash that we hold. So getting that kind of training is key.
Right.
But I think you're right. The school systems, the ballistic stuff, for my daughter being a teacher, I would love it for her in the classroom. As the teacher in the classroom.
Yeah, I mean, having those disseminated throughout the schools. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it's been talked about. I don't know that it has for sure, but I'm sure it has been. And it may sound crazy, right? I mean, because we're kind of adding that paranoia mindset. And I understand that, but that's kind of where we have to break that. That mindset, because we don't know when it's going to happen. Where it's going to happen. I mean, God forbid it happens in our own community.
Right.
But there's always a chance.
Yeah.
And having a 1-year-old now and bringing him up, if someone told me that they were going to add ballistic armor into the school systems and they were going to add active shooter training, I would be all for it.
Yeah.
Pass the levy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's just my mindset. You know what I mean? Because it's necessity. I would feel much better knowing that my kid is in a public school or private school and knowing that he's safe.
Yeah.
Or safer. You know what I mean? It's not going to deter every single thing from happening, but I guarantee you that it would decrease the amount of casualties that we're faced with in that sense, if that ever occurred.
Yeah, you mentioned paranoid. I think you have to help people. The training piece is what helps people move from paranoid to being prepared.
Correct.
And that's where you have to be.
And being vigilant, right? Like, I mean, to me, that's the word is vigilant. I'm not paranoid. I lived downtown for years and years and years. Right. I walked to work every day. I'd walk to work, I'd walk to after dark, but I was aware of my surroundings and noted things that I didn't think that were, and if, I saw something, I'd turn around,
that's
vigilance is a huge point, I think. So,
that's a great point.
I look, again, this kind of comes back to what you're doing with the training with self-defense. Like, I hope you never have to use any of these things, right?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Threat extinguisher or whatever you're talking about. Like, I hope we don't ever have to use any of these things. I wish they didn't have to be a necessity.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is we live in a world that is imperfect. And so when those imperfect things happen, we've got to have some ways to defend ourselves. Right. And we need to explore all those options, right?
Yeah, I mean, I use the analogy of like the toolbox analogy, right? The more tools that you have, right, the better the outcome, the more prepared that you are.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, it's such a high demand too right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's just finding trustworthy companies to be able to back that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to let you go before I just have one question to ask you. So who do you enjoy watching in MMA right now?
Right now, I'm still a Dustin Poirier fan.
Yeah,
and that's my.
That was
dude.
a lot of fun last week.
That's my dude, man.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Matt. Anytime he's fighting, I'm tuning in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, I haven't been able to stay as up to date as I'd like to do, or like to be. Man, there's so many talented individuals, and you see this new generation of fighters coming up.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, like, man, you can still compete with these guys.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's just a whole new breed. You talk about like the Islams and the Habibs, and, it's just a different
O'Malley, guys like that.
O'Malley. I like O'Malley. I like his style.
Yeah.
I don't always like the things that come out of people's mouths.
Exactly,
but,
right.
Like, even like McGregor, like I like his style.
Yeah.
But they're a brand, you know what I mean? And they're doing what they need to do to raise their stock, and more power to them, man.
Yeah.
But people like Matt, obviously I know him from a personal standpoint, and the dude is such a nice guy. I mean, contrary to like all the things he may say, but
Sure.
he is such a nice guy, man.
Yeah, he really is.
Anything for anybody that is in his like circle.
Right? Yeah. Before we go, tell us where we can get more information about Frontline Tactical.
Yeah, man. So right now, like we have the Instagram set up, the Frontline Tactical _ LLC. And then just the general Facebook page right now. So I'm working with some other people on getting the landing page and producing some training materials out of there. We'll have a training guide, some videos, and then we're working on some e-commerce as well. Again, it's one of those things where you want to apply the practical side, but also want to supply the equipment that's necessary to be able to defend against the active threat or the active aggressor. And just, basically doing everything that we can, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just trying to put everything out there that we possibly can. And, just it's gotta be the right stuff too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We want to produce the best equipment too. It's not, maybe I shouldn't say this, but we don't want to, we like the American made stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we appreciate you coming on. I appreciate what you're doing.
Great.
Again, I think from, my perspective, I wish it wasn't necessary, but here we are in a world in 2024. So let's get trained and get things right. So
yeah, we're growing, man. And, there's a lot of things that, to talk about, but, we're growing, and I think the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
When we look at it, I mean, I've always had this, high work ethic too, man. So we'll see what we can do. And like I said, it's bringing the best like-minded and the best work ethic around that we possibly can. So.
Yep. Well, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you guys.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford, powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it all